Good morning. Running a little late this morning. Had to kind of race up here. I forgot a part, the little adapter that hooks my microphone to my camera here, my phone. Morning, Barbara. Morning to you. Morning, Wendy. So, good morning, Karen. And Gideon and Asher, if they're sitting next to you right now. Janisa, Suzanne and Daryl, greeting. Hey, there's my mom. Welcome this morning. Good morning, Bob and Claudia. Looks like my camera's a little... There we go. Caleb, good morning. Welcome, everybody. Kim and Mike, Steve and Lisa, good morning. Welcome, everybody. Grateful for another day. Lori and Randy. Debbie, good morning. Bob, good to see you this morning. Alyssa, good morning. I don't know, Alyssa, are the boys early risers? I think they must be in your house. All right, so I don't know if they're there as well. So Graham and Chase, I'll say hello to you if you're there. Barbara Del Rio, good to see you as always each morning. Thanks everybody. Wow, I started like 2 minutes or whatever late, 2 or 3 minutes late. I had got all the way up here, got everything ready to roll, and I realized I was missing a part, the little connector to my microphone, so I had to run down to my office really quick and grab it. Mike and Joe, good morning. Carmen, good morning. We're in Psalm 39 today. Psalm 39. All the boys aren't with you up this early this morning, huh, Alyssa? Okay. Karen, good morning. I hope your birthday was a good one yesterday. I think yesterday was your birthday, Karen Faust. Good to see you this morning. Happy Tuesday to you. We're in Psalm, not 139, we're in Psalm 39 this morning. I keep adjusting this camera because it feels like it's just not level, and that's bugging me. So Gideon is awake. So I love reading the comments. I'm sorry, I get a little distracted by them. We don't see each other in real life because of all this craziness in our world, and so I can imagine as I see your names pop up on my screen, I see your faces in my mind, and I picture you wherever you are, and grateful. So, Brittany George, welcome. We got a really good crew this morning, really good representation. Psalm 39. So if you have your Bibles, turn there. And I'm just going to read a few verses, beginning with verse 4, 4 through 6. So just those three verses this morning. And I guess a little bit of context. The psalmist is experiencing what he interprets as the discipline of the Lord, and so he's not feeling great about. He feels like something's bad is happening in his life, or he's feeling the pressure of the world. This is David, by the way. This is a Psalm of David, and he says, it's God's hand that is upon me. So maybe he's made some choices that he feels like he's kind of reaping the whirlwind from. Maybe he made some foolish decisions, and now he's kind of paying or just walking the path of those decisions, which don't feel very good. We don't really know what's happening in the background, but it's not good. But it's not like his enemies are upon him, and it's these external things, and he's crying out to God. He's saying, you know what? I'm putting a hand over my mouth. I'm putting a muzzle on because I have nothing to say here. I'm receiving some, maybe the chastening of God in some way. So, here's his words in that context, beginning in verse 4. O Lord, make me know my end, and what is the measure of my days? Let me know how fleeting I am. Behold, you have made my days a few handbreadths, and my lifetime is as nothing before you. Surely all mankind stands as a mere breath. Surely a man goes about as a shadow. Surely for nothing they are in turmoil. Man heaps up wealth and does not know who will gather. I just feel like these are such wise words for all of us all the time to read. And I'm so glad that in a reading plan like what we follow here, or at least what I'm following, this psalm comes around very regularly every month. And it's because it's such a great reminder of making our days count. Understand, the psalmist is saying, help me to know the end of my days. Help me to know that I'm not going to be around forever and my choices matter. We think that from reading this, it appears that David is reaping the consequences of some maybe foolish choice. We don't know. He's saying, you know what? Remind me how fleeting my days are. Remind me that my life is a mere handbreadth compared to eternity. Remind me who I am relative to you, God, who he's praying for, and even all of mankind, he says, is a mere handbreadth compared to God. So how are we living today? How are we prioritizing our life? How are we living like that? Our days are fleeting. Are we prioritizing the right things? And so the Bible, here's the greatest thing about it. The Bible helps us to understand how to bear fruit that will last, how to make an eternal impact in this world. So first of all, the Bible tells us, awakens our spiritual mind to understand that this life isn't all there is, that there is eternity outside of that awaits us out after this life. And so we live now with that perspective. So good or bad in this life, this is going to be a very short existence compared to and relative to eternity. So that's the first thing that is very helpful that God reveals to us, the eternal God, is that this life here isn't all there is. And so if that's your perspective, what I mean is if our perspective is limited to this life, then it can be pretty you want to live either a self-indulgent life. Happiness is my number one goal. So I'm just going to only do things that make me feel happy, fulfilled, whatever. And that measurement is only based in this life. Whereas a Christian, we understand that this life is a very short part of eternity. Almost hard to measure how short it is. The Bible keeps talking about it as, well, in the Psalm, it's a shadow, it's a handbreadth, it's very short, it's fleeting relative to eternity. And so that helps us to have the right perspective to live our life now, to make sure that we're living with those eternal goals in mind, understanding how short our life is and how important it is to make use of our time while we are here on earth. So those are really helpful truths that the Bible gives us and the perspective it gives us. And the second thing I think that I draw from this, that at least I journal about and I remind myself about, is that relative to eternity, relative to mankind, my single life is relatively unimportant. That kind of sounds like a downer, but let me talk through this. I'm an achiever. I've always been kind of driven to achieve, to try to be somebody, right? And when you think about the perspective of that, and some of my goals over the years, and what kind of is in that internal part of me that drives me, it's for what? What am I chasing after? Trying to expand some great influence, and who really can do that, and what is their influence? I mean, a very small part of our population actually is known to anybody else outside of your friend circle. I mean, you think about, I want to be an influencer, I want to be somebody important, and sometimes I think about celebrities, and it makes me laugh how self-important celebrities are. They're these voices that everybody listens to. So let's put it all in perspective with regard to celebrities, because all of us kind of want in our hidden hearts want to be a celebrity. Maybe not, but I kind of do. And so I thought about this. So put it in perspective. Who are celebrities? Celebrities are faces. We have no idea really what their real life is like. We like them because they play a fictional character we like. All of their lines that they say are written for them by a team of professionals. They're saying those lines along with other people whose lines are written by a team of professionals. They're doing these things according to, while a musical soundtrack is playing in the background, and there's a cinematographer who's getting just the right angle, and there are lighting teams who is getting that perfect light, that golden light. They are not living in a real world. Those are fictional characters. They're not even real characters they're playing most of the time. And that's who we're listening to. Those are the main influencers, is these faces. We don't even know their real life, but boy, howdy, you go to an award ceremony, and you know just how self-important they feel. They're the advocates for this and for that. It made me laugh this last year when the comedian who was hosting the Academy Awards got up and just roasted the celebrities, saying, who are you to tell us how to live? You don't even live real lives. Not lives that any of us relate to anyway. And so when we think about how I want to be important, some of the role models we put out there is like, really, that's who we want to be? And aside from that, most of us will never achieve that celebrity status, even if that is the goal. So what is God's perspective of us? What, Brittany George, I'm sorry. I get distracted by your comments. Please stop trying to tell me that Tony Stark is not real. Yeah. Brittany, I wish you lived in California. Why aren't you in California? You live too far away. We need you here back in Amador County. You are the person I want to be, Brittany. You are the celebrity that I aim for, okay? Anyway, now I'm all sidetracked. Let's put it in perspective in real life. This is what I think the psalmist is saying. Now, David's a king, right? He is a guy of influence. And the Bible gives us this perspective that our life actually does matter, and it's not in the way that we think. It's not that we have to be a celebrity. The psalmist is saying, let me know who I am relative to all mankind. I'm just one. So we think about it in today's terms. I'm one of 7 point whatever billion people on the planet right now. So nobody knows me outside of my own little sphere of influence, my own circle of friends. And in 100 years, not even they'll know me, right? Nobody knows me. 100 years later, I'm gone. I'm not even a memory on earth. That's how insignificant my life from a human perspective is. But from an eternal perspective, God says it is far more valuable than that. And this is what is the beauty of being a believer. God says, even though you're one of 7 point whatever billion, even though no one's going to remember you in 100 years, I am acquainted with every single thought you think. I am with you every single day. My steadfast love has been set upon you. And we have the creator of the universe putting himself and all of that God represents, his focus on us as individuals. And the things that we do actually do matter for eternal things. And to get this perspective, all you have to do is go to a funeral. I have the unique perspective as a pastor. I've lost count of how many funerals I've done. And when we are at the end of our life, and I've also been at the bedside of people who are days away, if not hours away, from entering into eternity. What are they thinking? What are they saying? This gives us kind of the more healthy perspective of how we ought to live our lives. Because the things that someone who's on their deathbed is saying, they're not wasting their words. They're not saying, they're not making plans for this life anymore. They're trying to communicate the most important things to the most important people in their life. And what is of most valuable to them has the greatest clarity at that moment. Everything else that doesn't fit in that category seems frivolous to talk or think about when you are days, months, hours away from entering into eternity. I think this is the perspective that the psalmist is trying to achieve at this life. I want to think about the most important, be the wisest person I can be with the time that I have, because that influence will influence for eternity. So who am I influencing? They're just the people around me. And that matters. It matters a great deal to God. It matters a great deal to the people around you. Because when you go to somebody's funeral, and it's my favorite thing to facilitate as a pastor, is to draw people out to share their personal experience with this loved one who has passed. Because you hear stories, you hear the impact of this person's life in that individual's life, how that person influenced me, how they affected me. And they say things, oh, so-and-so, they always used to say this, or I'll never forget so-and-so because when I was a kid, I had this experience with them, or we did these things together and I've so valued our relationship. These are the things that matter for all eternity. It's how we love people. It's how we care for people, how we are kind to people. And as Christians, with the perspective of eternity, it's how we are doing these things for the glory of God. We don't have to be a global influencer. We don't have to be a national influencer. We don't even have to be a regional influencer. We just have to influence the people that God has put around us. We just have to love them. We have to speak truth. We have to encourage. We have to just serve people around us. That's all we have to do. And God says that matters for eternity. That is your eternal status, is how did we love God? How did we love people that are just in our little circle? That is what completely matters. And that's such a healthy perspective. It's helped me so much as a pastor, and especially as a young pastor, where I wanted so desperately to make a difference for God. And I, in my mind, just thought, it has to be on some grand, the grand influential stage, not a literally stage, but my voice, I needed it to be as heard by many people as possible, because I felt like that's what God wanted. But as I've grown and understood more about what God wanted from my life, it's really not that at all. It's just to be me in this time, in this place, right now, to love God, to love people. And God says, I am pleased. You're doing it. You're doing exactly what I want you to do. You are loving the people around you. You're pointing them to me. You're actually living out your life, your highs and your lows, in front of other people. They see that, and that helps them. They can connect with that. And so we're all in that same boat. We all have that same kind of influence. Let me just read the New Testament version of Psalm 39. And that's in Ephesians chapter 5, right at the end of Ephesians, when Paul says this. And this is saying the same message, but it's just as applicable today as it was back in David's time, in Paul's time, today. He says this in chapter 5, verse 15. Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of time, because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is. So what was relevant to the Ephesians is still relevant to me, to you. To be wise, to live a wise life, is to understand what the will of the Lord is. To live out our Christian faith in real time, in this life, with people around us. That's all we're supposed to be doing. Understand what the will of God is and live that out. And that's going to include highs and lows and exciting things and terribly painful things. All of those things, all we're expected of us from an eternal perspective is to live out our days as wise, as understanding the will of God, and just walking in that, whatever that means to us today. And God is pleased with that. Yeah, that's going to matter for eternity. That's what is going to matter when we step into heaven and we see God face to face and hear those words, well done, good and faithful servant. That is how we're going to be measured. And so the point is, our prayer, just like David's prayer, is, God, teach me to number my days. Teach me to do things today that counts. And counting doesn't mean celebrity status. Counting doesn't mean a huge influence. It just means me and my circle of friends living out my faith in real time, loving God, loving people. And if we're doing that, we're doing the will of God. If we're doing that, we are influencing just like God wants us to influence. If we're doing that, we are accomplishing things for eternal good. You are no less important to God if you are a celebrity pastor who has a national or worldwide ministry. I think of someone like Ravi Zacharias, who passed away recently, and how influential he was. And I think, well, who am I? I'm no Ravi Zacharias. I can't speak or write with the same kind of influence he does. And God says, yeah, that's Ravi. There's only one Ravi Zacharias. But there are so many people who are living right in homes, influencing people in that home. Ravi wasn't in my house raising my kids. I was. My wife is. We have a direct influence in real people's life that Ravi Zacharias didn't. Okay? And anybody else you want to put in that category, you are living your life. You are influencing your friends. You are loving people as God loves us. And so let us number our days. Let's do that effectively. No one can do it better than you. And that's the honest truth in the place in the world that God has put you in. So let's do that today with wisdom and a new sense of motivation to live for God's glory, knowing that our days count. All right? God bless you today.